That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Light of My Life, directed by Casey Affleck, which premiered earlier this year at the Berlin Film Festival in the Panorama Sidebar, I believe, and is about to be released by Saban Films in theaters this August.
So the story is very simple. We're living in a world where there are no more women.
Yep, it's a dystopic fiction film where women suddenly died 8 or 9 years ago without any kind of explanation, but the rest of... It seems like a lot more has happened than just the women dying, but it seems like there's the straggling survivors wandering around is it the Pacific Northwest, did they say? Around some rural countryside areas are all men, and Casey Affleck is stuck with his daughter who is disguised as a boy, or who he tries to disguise as a boy, and I guess just survive day to day.
Yeah, I mean, the story is very simple. Yeah. Casey Affleck basically is trying... So his daughter is what, 11?
I don't even know.
10?
I think she says 10.
She's 10.
Yeah.
So we just see a snapshot of his life with her, just getting by day to day, unsuccessfully trying to pretend she's his son. And it basically culminates with him trying to get her to like a safe space.
Yeah.
Which we don't know if he's able to.
There are at least 2 different people that mention women being held in small communities in like a safe house or bunker. And it's presumably because since all women are dead, that any surviving woman is going to be like ravaged by men.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Like, there's so much. This movie leaves so many questions unanswered. It didn't make sense to me. I get the sense you enjoyed this movie more than I did.
I probably did a little more than
I was very frustrated.
But I had a lot of issues, and I also found it derivative in many ways. Like, I spent most of the film, it's nearly 2 hours, writing down how many other films it is very similar.
Okay, so first off, this movie felt like, which we already talked about, if you mix Bird Box with The Road and Leave No Trace,
yeah, and
extract all of the like suspense and action and emotion.
There was when they are in that house and those men show up.
No, I don't agree with that. Yeah, okay. You're right. There is some action that happens, but the problem is both times that there's a sequence where they are being attacked, prior to that, they show like, okay, what's the exit plan? Mm-hmm. He literally, because Ben Affleck wrote Casey Affleck wrote this as well as directed and stars in it. So he basically tells us what they're going to do when the bad guys come, and they do exactly that.
Yeah, sure.
So I already knew what was going to happen before it happened.
Sure, but I still find it creepy, like those, like, what do they want with that little girl? There are creepy elements to that.
The only tension I felt was the idea of, yes, what would these men who don't have access to women do to this boyish 10-year-old girl?
I mean, even somebody says, like, you got a comely boy there.
No, the black man?
Yeah.
He says that's a good-looking boy.
Yeah, I think he said comely.
Did he?
I think he did. Because
I was more distracted by him making that comment about yellow Chinese.
Oh, yeah.
He makes some like racial comment. But, okay, so the movie feels very derivative. Yeah. I also thought like halfway through, this movie is like if you took like some yuppie white couple who live in Silver Lake and only shop at like Whole Foods and would send their daughter to like a Montessori school or like one of those language immersion schools and has like a Mexican housekeeper, but they make sure she has her papers. And like, what if that family got caught like during the apocalypse? Like, how would they act?
So, A Quiet Place, which feels very Aryan to me.
But at least they had something to do.
That's true. But this is always my problem with dystopic fiction. And if you like, let me sound off for a second. Like, where do marginalized identities, like what happens to them? Since cinema is a medium that it costs a lot of money, it is made by those who are in control, who are like white straight men. So almost all these post-apocalyptic dystopic fiction films have to deal with heteronormativity and gender. Like Children of Men is all about, what would happen to the human race if suddenly there could be no more children. Like sterility, childbirth, those kind of are the driving force behind a lot of these films. So like, where do gay people fit in? Where do people of color fit in? And like A Quiet Place I thought of a couple times because it's like this couple is, despite everything saying don't have another child, we're gonna have another baby, and The Road is also a good counterpoint to this too. Like the Charlize Theron character who just gets up and walks into she kills herself. Like,
I don't disagree with you. I mean, this is the story of a specific man and his kid, so I don't know that I need to know all that. I do wonder that, but there are so many other problems for me that would be like the next page, just because I don't disagree with you.
No,
you're asking for a lot, which we should be, but
these people that had this white privilege that is. We're going to go on living no matter what because we enjoyed a good life.
Yeah, you're definitely digging in deeper than I did. I just thought it was humorous, like the way he's.
Because if I was out there with a little girl that everybody's trying to rape all the time, I think I'd say we might have to just die. I don't know what I would find. Like I don't see what they would keep going for, except that
honestly, I felt the same way. Like, yeah, I would just give up, or at least throw her to the wolves. Like, whatever.
But like all of these movies, there's this promise of sanctuary, like Bird Box, for instance, where it's like, oh, they find the safe place. But
so I guess that leads me to like a question I kept thinking was like, what is the plan? Like, I don't see how they think they're going to. Because he doesn't even know about this place where there may be women until like halfway through. And even then, he doesn't seem to care. It's only at the very end when he feels desperate that he tells her this. So it's like, yeah, what was his plan? Because he's talking to her like the way he tries to edge. Oh my God, the opening scene, which is like 15 minutes of him telling her a story, like even the fucking character is telling her dad, like, this story is whack. And as the audience, I was like, yeah, this story is really whack. And I have to sit here for 15 minutes and listen to it.
But the point that was wrapped up in it, what I think relates to the film, is about, like, he melds his fantasy story with that of Noah's Ark.
Yes.
And she says something about how it doesn't make sense that there would be two of every creature. And he's like, you're right, it doesn't make any sense. So there's this feeling of all these passed down stories that we've told each other for eons that don't make any sense, that we never question.
Yeah, I got that too.
But I mean, if you apply that theory to his film as well, like, I have questions that he doesn't have the answer.
So then I feel like you wasted 15 minutes of your intro, because this movie is 2 hours long.
Yeah, and I think he used that as for her to say, like, am I the only girl left?
And according to my math, if the film's 2 hours long, the first 15 minutes are a waste. The only real action sequence comes at 1 hour, 45 minutes, when it's like the final scene where some men come to attack, and I'm assuming take the girl. I thought that fight scene with the dad was, I mean, considering what I just sat through, it was
choreographed.
It was well choreographed, and the audio, like, there was no sound, so it felt very intense. But I'm thinking, like, okay, so the movie's 2 hours, the first 15 minutes are a wash, and it's not until hour 45 that we get a little bit of life out of this film. So to me, that means, like, this movie was a waste of time. Like, it really was to me. Because I just feel like I didn't get anything. And it doesn't end, the movie ends the way it started.
Yeah.
Which would be fine if it were better written, because then I would think, like, oh, it's just like this hopeless loop. Like, why, like, I don't need everything to be packaged nicely and wrapped up in the end. No, but this movie is not, the way Casey Affleck, his character, talked, it was so flat. And the way he talked to his daughter.
I think that's just him.
Well,
flat.
I mean, it was just really grating. You know, I know it's just a kid actor, but I did not like this.
The actor?
Oh my God.
She was okay, I thought, for what she was called.
I'm assuming it was the direction, because she just...
I felt like...
She sounded bratty and like...
I feel like I could tell, and I don't always... It's not something that occurs to me that often, really, but it's like, oh, this feels like it was written by a man.
A rich white man is how this movie feels. There's like a scene where she's asking about morals and ethics because she's reading some book and has questions, and the character does a very good job of explaining the difference between morals and ethics. And he just is so confident in the way he teaches her things, and like he's expecting her to spell centrifuge, and like she's a bright girl, he seems like an intelligent man. But then when it's time to explain puberty, and like how babies are made.
I
He
wrote that
just
down.
sounds like a bumbling idiot.
Like a little bloody nose.
He describes like a woman's period as like having a bloody nose. And it's just like, so my next thought was a lot of the conflict between the two of them is how he reacts to her. But doesn't he know how she is? Like they've spent years together, like just the two of them, 24/7, getting to know each other. Yet the conflict they have seems to arise because he says the wrong thing to her in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't like how she reacts to him. But it's like, don't you know her? People who I've known that long, I feel like I know how they're going to react to certain things I say and do. And it's just like, it doesn't seem very organic, real. Yeah.
And we should mention Elisabeth Moss in Flashback plays the mother, which I also find interesting since she's front and center in Handmaid's Tale in the Margaret Atwood
Sure.
series. But
Another thought I wrote down is, why is that little girl's name Rag? Her name is
I thought he was
Rag.
saying Reg.
According to IMDb, it's Rag. And I thought he was saying Reg as well, but either way. Yeah, I just don't know. Everyone knows she's a girl. Everywhere they go, every person that this character meets in the film recognizes her to be a girl. Except then I didn't understand, like, there's like a space where they can go and get supplies. Mm-hmm. So there is some sort of like logistics to like this world they live in. It's not totally hopeless. There aren't monsters killing people. So like I have so many questions. Like what is happening? What is happening? How dire is their situation? Because the film is very dry. I feel like he's trying to create this like brooding, sort of like low grade but intense sense of dread, but it's not present because your character is not acting like we could be killed at any moment. You're bringing your fucking daughter out amongst the wolves.
Yeah, that's true.
Like no one's gonna know that it's a girl.
That's
Even
true.
when she says like, I just want to stay here, like when he wants to go to the city and he's like, no, you're coming with me. I just don't understand, like, is everything okay and there are just no women?
I just think that...
Also, all of the homes that they went to, or the two homes, and the places they go, they're not completely ravaged.
That's true.
So obviously people have access to things.
I think that if something were to happen where the human race was to, like Mother Nature or whatever, were to chaotically enforce something like this upon us, like women wouldn't die all at once, but what would happen is, you know, how humans are created in the womb, like remember in Jurassic Park how they discover the dinosaurs are like, oh, they're all becoming...
Yeah, the science behind this also is, I mean, it just doesn't make sense given that there's no information.
Because aren't males get the extra chromosome.
Oh, well, if you're talking about genetics, I can't answer that. I'm just thinking, yeah, I thought you meant maybe if there were this disease that wiped everyone out,
I think
women that remain might not.
Some evolutionary thing would happen where women just would only give birth to like men. Say.
But that takes time, and I'm assuming they all died at once. But it's just like, how did this happen? Which I don't need to know exactly how, but there are so many things that don't make sense that it's like, well, you don't give us anything. I would give this movie 1 out of 5 stars.
Oh, okay. I thought, I liked the soundtrack. I thought it looked fine.
The soundtrack?
I liked the music.
Was there music?
There was music, yeah.
I don't even remember.
I didn't hate it. I just, it wasn't in competition in Berlin, but there was a lot of hype about it.
Well, we have 1 minute. I feel like I need to explain that, Casey Affleck has had issues with relating to ladies.
I think this subject matter is interesting, and he did address that it's not in response to all the stuff that happened on the set of the last film.
Sure, I read that, or I read that. I just feel like this is an interesting choice
that he's
poorly executed.
That he's the gatekeeper to the last.
I'm not into it. Go watch Bird Box. What do you give it?
I'll give it 2.5.
Okay.
5.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion as a white man. No, I'm just kidding. It does have good points, but I did not like it. I was frustrated. There are other films with very similar themes that are better and more exciting. I guess if you just want to sit for 2 hours and chill.
It's competently directed and it's less corny than Bird Box.
Yes, it definitely is not. It's not corny at all.
No.
It's not gimmicky in any way. But there are films that also achieve that same tone and have like a little more to offer.
Yeah, and
I'm biased, maybe because I just also don't care for Casey Affleck. So
yes, and
if you take that away, you can give it 1.5 for me.
okay,
All right.
yeah, and I don't like him either, but I was less angry than after this than A Quiet Place. I'll give you that.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.